Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Mubin Yusuf from the Physiology Department, Faisalabad Medical University, Faisalabad. Today I am going to discuss about the reproductive system. Welcome to the reproductive system. So let's start by asking what is reproductive system. The system in our body that includes sex organs and certain parts of our brain. It allows us to reproduce and to make the offsprings by combining the genetic material from the sperm taken from the sperm and egg. So let's first take a brief look at the most important sex organs in the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system comprises of the primary sex organs and the secondary sex organs. The primary sex organs include the ovaries. Ovaries are the primary sex organs in the females and they perform the two functions. The first is the oogenesis, that is the formation of the ova, and the second is the steroidogenesis, that is the synthesis and secretion of the female sex hormones. The secondary sex organs of the female reproductive systems include the vagina, uterus, two fallopian tubes, external genitalia, and the mammary glands. This slide shows the physiological anatomy of the female sexual organs, in which you can see the vagina that is leading into the cervical canal, and cervical canal in turn is leading into the endometrial canal that is surrounded by the muscles of the uterus containing the two fallopian tubes at the two ends. The fimbriated end of the fallopian tube is towards the ovary that is present in the abdominal cavity. After the release of the egg, it is attracted towards the fimbriated end of the fallopian tube and then passes through the fallopian tubes into the endometrial cavity. The normal reproductive years of the female comprises of the monthly rhythmical changes in the rates of secretion of the female hormones and corresponding physical changes in the ovaries and the other sexual organs. The normal monthly sexual cycle, the duration of the normal monthly sexual cycle averages about 28 days. That is the range between the 20 to 45 days. It means that before less than 20 days and more than 45 days can be considered as abnormals. The two results occur as there are two results of the female sexual cycle. That is, the single ovum is released from the ovaries each month. Normally, the single ovum is released from the ovaries each month, and the uterine endometrium is prepared for the implantation of the fertilized ovum. The gonadotrophic hormones and their effects on the ovaries. The ovarian changes that occur during the sexual cycle depend completely on the gonadotrophic hormones, that is the FSH and LH, that are mainly secreted by the anterior pituitary glands. The hypothalamus releases the gonadotrophin releasing hormones that then act on the anterior pituitary hormones to secrete the LH, that is luteinizing hormone, and FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormones. These hormones in turn act on the ovaries and produces the changes that are evident during normal monthly sexual cycle. Both the FSH and LH stimulate their ovarian target cells by combining with highly specific receptors, leading to an increase in the cell rates of the secretion, growth, and proliferation. In the absence of both FSH and LH, the ovaries remain inactive. That occurs during the childhood, but as the puberty reaches at about the 9 to 11 years of age, the rate of secretion of FSH and LH from the anterior pituitary gland increases, and that in turn act on the ovaries and produces the changes in the ovaries. Today we will discuss about the two cycles that are taking place simultaneously in the ovaries and in the endometrial cavity. One is called as ovarian cycle and other is called as endometrial cycle or uterine cycle. Firstly, we will describe about the ovarian cycle. The ovarian cycle is the cyclical changes during a period of about on an average 28 days. These are the cyclical changes that occurs in the ovaries under the action of FSH and LH. These can be divided into three phases, that is the follicular phase, ovulation, and the luteal phase. Follicular phase is also called as pre-ovulatory phase, as it occurs before the ovulation, and luteal phase is called as post-ovulatory phase, as it occurs after the ovulation. So let us describe the follicular phase of the ovarian cycle. In a female child, each ovum is surrounded by a single cell called a single granulosa cell sheath called as primordial follicle. It means that before the puberty, the type of ovum that is present inside the ovaries is called as primordial follicle. This primordial follicle contains a single ovum that is surrounded by the single sheath of epithelioid cells called as granulosa cells. So together ovum and the granulosa cells form the primordial follicle. The function of the granulosa cells is to provide the nourishment for the ovum and secrete oocyte maturation inhibiting factor, which keep the ovum in its primordial state. As long as the puberty approaches, the ovum are present in the form of primordial follicles inside the ovaries. But as the puberty approaches at the age of about 12 years, these undergoes a number of changes and converts into different types of follicles. After puberty, anterior pituitary secretes FSH and LH, resulting in ovum to increase in size and growth of additional layer of the granulosa cells of some follicles known as primary follicles. It means that primordial follicle after the puberty under the action of FSH and LH will increase in the size because of growth of additional layer of granulosa cells, and at this stage this is called as primary follicle. The primary follicles then converts into the secondary follicles by the addition of multiple layers of the granulosa cells. During the first few days of the monthly female sexual cycle, there is an increased secretion of FSH and LH. FSH increases slightly more and earlier than LH, which causes the acceleration of growth of many primary follicles each month. It means that during the first few days of each after the start of each monthly sexual cycle, FSH and LH levels increases, but it is mainly the FSH that predominates during this half of the cycle. FSH causes many accelerated growth of many of the primary follicles that then converts into other stages. There is the proliferation of the granulosa cells to many layers. The ovary interstitium collects in several layers outside the granulosa cells to form a second mass of the cells called as theca. The theca is divided into two layers, that is theca interna and theca externa. The theca interna, in the theca interna, the cells take on epithelioid characteristics similar to those of the granulosa cells and develop the ability to secrete additional steroid sex hormones. The outer layer, that is the theca externa, develops into a highly vascular connective tissue capsules that becomes the capsule of the developing follicle. So at this stage there is the ovum surrounded by the many layers of the granulosa cells that are in turn surrounded by the special spindle like cells taken from the interstitium of the ovary, that is forming the another mass of the cell, that is theca cell. Theca is again divided into two layers, that is theca interna and theca externa. So few days after the proliferation and growth of the follicles, the granulosa cells secrete follicular fluid that contains high concentrations of estrogen. This fluid accumulates to form the antrum within the mass of the granulosa cell. At this stage, the accumulation of the fluid inside the antrum form a cavity inside the cell developing follicle, and at this stage this follicle is called as antral follicle. The early growth of the primary follicle up to the antral stage is under FSH stimulation only. Then there is accelerated growth of the follicle to larger follicles called as vesicular follicle or the Graafian follicles. How these follicles act, there is which is caused by the estrogen secreted into the follicle. How this accelerated growth is how this accelerated growth of the follicle is done is by the estrogen that is secreted into the follicle caused by the granulosa cells to increase FSH receptors, which causes positive feedback effect. It means that inside the antral cavity the estrogen is secreted in large amount by the follicles, by the follicular granulosa cells, which in turn increases the FSH receptors, which causes the positive feedback effect. Both estrogen and FSH combines to promote LH receptors on the original granulosa cells, in addition to FSH stimulation allowing more rapid increase in the follicular secretion. The increasing estrogen from the follicle plus increasing LH from the anterior pituitary causes the proliferation of the follicular theca cells and increases their secretion. The antral follicle begins to grow, the ovum enlarges and remains embedded at one pole of the granulosa cells of the follicle. So, at this stage, when we are having the Graafian follicle, that is the maximum largest follicle inside the ovaries that has to be ovulate at the time of ovulation. During this contains the ovum at one pole and containing an antral cavity and then surrounded by the layers of the cells. During all the reproductive years of the adult life, between about 13 and 46 years of age, about 400 to 500 of the primordial follicles develop enough to expel their ova, one each month. The remaining follicles that are about 5 to 11 undergo atresia or involute. So, in the follicular phase, what happens that the primordial follicles which were present during the childhood now undergo proliferation, proliferation and causes the accumulation of the more of the cells around itself and develops into the primary follicles, secondary follicles, antral follicles and then Graafian follicles. After the follicular phase, then comes the ovulation. LH is necessary for the final follicular growth and ovulation to take place. 2 days before the ovulation, the rate of LH secretion increases to 6 to 16 folds in peaks about 16 hours before ovulation. In the previous slides, I have told you that it is mainly the FSH which is the predominant hormone in the first phase of the ovulation, in the first phase of the monthly sexual cycle. But at the time of ovulation, or we can say just 2 days before the ovulation, it must be the LH that should rise tremendously to cause the ovulation. So at this stage, it would be the LH that is predominant hormone. FSH also increases 2 to 3 folds and acts synergistically with the LH to cause swelling of the follicle before ovulation. But LH has specific effect on the granulosa cell. Although FSH also increases 2 to 3 folds at this time when the LH is going to increase, but mainly the LH is the hormone that is increased, whose secretion is increased tremendously at this stage. LH has specific effect on the granulosa cells and theca cells, converting them to progesterone secreting cells. So the rate of estrogen secretion decreases about 1 day before ovulation, while progesterone secretion begins to increase. At the time of ovulation, we have learned that it is the LH which is the main hormone that should be secreted in tremendous amount, and LH after its secretion in turn causes the increase in the secretion of progesterone. So the level of FSH and estrogen decreases just 1 day before the ovulation, while progesterone secretion began to increase. This is a slide showing a graph that should be remembered and very important. here we can see here we can see very easily that there is the we can say that FSH and LH secretion and estradiol secretion and progesterone secretion, how it alters during the whole of the cycle. Initially you can see that there is an increase in the FSH secretion in the first few days of the monthly sexual cycle. At the time of ovulation, then there occurs a decrease in the FSH secretion, but just before 2 days of ovulation the FSH again begins to rise. But at this time the LH is there is a peak of LH, that is it is going to be secreted in larger amount than the FSH. So at the time of ovulation LH is in the larger amounts, and similarly you can see that estradiol or the estrogen is present in larger amounts in the first half of the cycle. But as the ovulation occurs, there is a decrease in the estradiol level and there is tremendous increase in the progesterone level, which is actually under the control of luteinizing hormone. How the initiation of the ovulation takes place? Large quantities of the LH causes the rapid secretion of the progesterone from the follicle. Within a few hours, 2 events occur which are necessary for ovulation to take place. The first is the theca externa, which begins to secrete proteolytic enzymes and causes weakening of the wall, resulting in the swelling of the follicle and degeneration of the stigma. Stigma is actually a protrusion into the wall of the follicular capsule that is protruding like a nipple. Second is the rapid growth of the new blood vessels into the follicular wall, and prostaglandin are secreted into the follicular tissue. It occurs 14 days after the ovulation onset of the menstruation in 28 days cycle. The process or the ovulation takes place just 14 days after the onset of the menstruation in 28 days cycle. It can be varied in different lengths of the cycle, but in ideal condition, or we can say if a female is having 28 day cycle, the ovulation must take place on 14th day of after the onset of the menstruation. During ovulation, the stigma protrudes and fluid oozes from the follicle, and the stigma ruptures, allowing more viscous fluid outwards, carrying it with it the ovum surrounded by a mass of granulosa cells called corona radiata. So after the rupture of the stigma that is protruding out from the follicular wall, follicular capsule ruptures, the viscous fluid comes out that was present into the antral cavity, and with that viscous fluid is carrying the ovum that is now surrounded by a mass of the granulosa cells called as corona radiata. This is the picture showing the corona radiata, and inside this corona radiata is actually the mass of granulosa cells, and it is carrying inside it the ovum. What is corpus luteum? Luteal phase of the ovarian cycle starts after the ovulation has taken place. I have told you earlier that ovarian cycle has 3 stages: the follicular stage, the ovulation, and the luteal stage or the luteal phase. In the luteal phase of the ovarian cycle, what happens that after expulsion of the ovum from the follicle, the remaining granulosa and theca internal cells changes to lutein cells and becomes filled with the lipid inclusions, giving them yellowish appearance, and this process is called as luteinization. After the expulsion of the ovum, the remaining mass is containing the granulosa and theca internal cells. These granulosa and theca internal cells are then changing into another type of the cells. Why? How? Because these are filled with the lipid inclusions, giving them the yellowish appearance, and these cells are now called as lutein cells. The granulosa cells in the corpus luteum form large amount of progesterone and estrogen. Now, when they have been converted into the corpus luteum, the granulosa cells, they are now secreting larger amounts of progesterone and estrogen. The theca cells form mainly androgens, that are androstenedione or the testosterone, which again are converted by the granulosa cells into the female hormones, mainly the estrogens. So this is luteal phase, that is how it is controlled. The gonadotrophic releasing hormones are acting on the anterior pituitary, causing the FSH and LH to increase, that is now acting on the ovary and causing the ovulation to take place. After the ovulation, corpus luteum is formed, that is going to secrete the estrogen, progesterone and inhibin, another hormone, that is inhibin. Inhibin at this stage along with the estrogen and progesterone is causing the negative feedback effect on the anterior pituitary hormone and also on the gonadotrophin releasing hormones, and causes the decreased secretion of all the three estrogen, decreased secretion of FSH and LH. So we can summarize here the functions of the luteinizing hormone. How does it act at the time of ovulation, after ovulation has taken place? Its main function is the extrusion of the ovum from the follicle. As I have told you earlier, that the LH is necessary for the ovulation to take place, and ovulation means the extrusion of the ovum from the follicle. So first function of the LH is the extrusion of the ovum from the follicle. The second function is the change of granulosa and theca interna cells into the lutein cells. This also takes place under the effect of LH. Thirdly, it causes the secretion of progesterone and estrogen from the corpus luteum. If the pregnancy occurs, the HCG from the placenta act on the corpus luteum to prolong its life for 2 to 4 months of the pregnancy. Otherwise, the corpus luteum after 12 days, after performing its function, it is converted into another mass that is called as corpus albicans and then degenerates. Involution of the corpus luteum and onset of the next ovarian cycle. The estrogen and progesterone from corpus luteum, that is during the luteal phase, are secreted by the corpus luteum, have strong negative feedback effect on the anterior pituitary to inhibit the secretion of FSH and LH. The lutein cells secrete small amount of inhibin. I have told you earlier that these three hormones together, they are causing the negative feedback effect on the anterior pituitary gland to cause the decreased secretion of FSH and LH. Around 26th day of the normal sexual cycle and after involution of the corpus luteum, sudden cessation of the estrogen, progesterone and inhibin removes the negative feedback inhibition of the anterior pituitary and allowing the increased secretion of FSH and LH again. It means that after the secretion of the FSH, after the secretion of the estrogen, progesterone that occurs during the later half of the cycle, there is increased secretion of both of these hormones. When their secretion rises, they act on the secretion of the LH and FSH is decreased. So when their secretion rises, they causes a negative feedback effect on the anterior pituitary. So inhibiting the inhibitory effect on the FSH and LH, and then again the FSH and LH start increasing, and for the start of a new cycle. Here in this slide you can see whatever I have told you earlier, that FSH is increasing in the first of the cycle, then at the time of ovulation LH is increasing, and then there is static or almost similar way they are decreasing, and then at the end of the luteal phase they are going to be increased again. Ovarian cycle, what happens in the ovarian cycle, that initially in the start of the cycle there is only the primary follicle present, then there is enlargement of the follicle forming the secondary follicle, then there is formation of the antral cavity forming the antral follicle and containing the theca interna and theca externa cells, a layer of the cells, and then antrum is formed, and then there is formation of the Graafian follicles. At this stage the evolution will occur, the ovum will be released into the uterine cavity and then will be released into the abdominal cavity to be taken up by the fallopian tube, and the remaining mass of the cells will convert into the corpus luteum. That is converted into a mature corpus luteum, then formation of the corpus albicans, and then the degeneration. So up till now we have studied about the ovarian cycle. I have told you earlier that the two cycles are taking place at the same time. In our monthly sexual cycle, the two cycles are taking place at the same time. One is the ovarian cycle that is taking place inside the ovaries, and other is the endometrial cycle or the menstrual cycle or the uterine cycle that is taking place inside the uterus. So what is monthly endometrial cycle? It is associated with the monthly cyclical production of estrogen and progesterone by the ovaries in the lining of the uterus. What does it mean? That hypothalamus, after affecting through the gonadotrophic releasing hormone on the anterior pituitary hormone, causing the release of the LH and FSH that are acting on the ovaries. Ovaries in turn are forming the estrogen and progesterones that are now acting on the endometrial lining and producing the changes in itself. What is the why these changes are produced inside the cell? The female reproductive functions can be divided into two major phases: the preparation of the female body for conception and pregnancy, and the period of pregnancy itself. So these hormones are going to prepare the uterus for the conception and pregnancy. As in the ovarian cycle, the uterine cycle, the uterine cycle or the endometrial cycle is also divided into three phases. That is the proliferative phase, ovulation, and then secretory phase. Proliferative phase is also called as estrogen phase, and secretory phase is called as progestational phase. Pre-ovulatory phase is synonymous with the estrogen phase, and post-ovulatory phase is synonymous with the progestational phase. So starting with the describing the proliferative phase of the endometrial cycle. At the beginning of each cycle, most of the endometrium has been desquamated by the menstruation. So each cycle is starting with the desquamation of the menstruation. After menstruation, only thin layer of the endometrial stroma remains, and the deeper portions of the glands and the crypts of the endometrium. Under the influence of the estrogen, the stromal cells and the epithelial cells proliferate rapidly. So in the initial 3 to 4 days, the menstruation takes place in each of the endometrial cycle, but after that, under the action of estrogen that is going to be secreted by the enteral cells, under the action of FSH is going to produce the stromal cells and epithelial cell proliferation at this phase now. The endometrial surface re-epithelialized within 4 to 7 days after the beginning of the menstruation. Before ovulation, the endometrial thickness increases due to increased number of stromal cells and progressive growth of the glands and new blood vessels. So when at the time when the FSH is going to be increased in the ovaries, going to produce more and more estrogen, this estrogen is released and going to act on the endometrial lining, causing its proliferation, and at about the time of ovulation, whole of the endometrium is re-epithelialized and its thickness increases due to increased number of stromal cells and progressive growth of the glands and new blood vessels. At the time of ovulation, the endometrium is about 3 to 5 millimeter thick. The endometrial glands, cervical region secrete a thin stringy mucus which helps to guide sperm in the proper direction from the vagina into the uterus. So in the proliferative phase, what should happen and what happens is the proliferation of the stromal cells and the glands, so that the whole of the endometrium should regain its thickness. Then comes the ovulation. At the time of ovulation, the LH is the main hormone that is present during ovarian cycle. this I have told you earlier that this LH causing is now causing at the time of ovulation is causing secretion of more progesterone. So next in the endometrial cycle, it is the progesterone who is taking its place, who is predominant hormone that will act on the endometrium and causes the and produces the changes. What are the changes? After ovulation, progesterone and estrogen are secreted in the later part of the monthly cycle by the corpus luteum. Estrogen causes slight proliferation in the endometrium, and progesterone causes marked swelling and secretory development of the endometrium. The glands increase in tortuosity, excess secretory substances accumulate in the glands. So it is mainly the function of progesterone in the later part of the cycle, endometrial cycle, or in the secretory phase of the endometrial cycle, is to increase the secretory functions of the cells that have been proliferated under the action of estrogen. Stromal cell cytoplasm increases lipid and glycogen deposits in the cells, and blood supply to the endometrium increases and becomes more tortuous. 1 week after ovulation, endometrium thickness is about 5 to 6 millimeter. So the main function of the at this time, the main function of the progesterone is to increase the secretory activity, so that further, if the ovulation, if the fertilization takes place, if the embryo is implanted, the nourishment could be provided to the developing embryo. So you can see what happens during the proliferative phase. There is an increase in the proliferation of the cells of the endometrium. Then comes the secretory phase, in which the secretory activity is increased, and then comes the menstruation phase. The secretory changes prepare the endometrium for implantation of the fertilized ovum. Uterine secretions called the uterine milk provide nutrition for the dividing ovum. The trophoblastic cells on the surface of the implanted ovum begins to digest the endometrium and absorbs endometrial stored substances, in the case if the fertilization takes place. If ovum is not fertilized about 2 days before the end of the monthly cycle, the corpus luteum in the ovaries suddenly involutes, and the ovarian hormones, that are the estrogen and progesterone, decreases to low level of the secretion. What happens during the menstruation? The necrosis is there during the menstruation. Necrosis is initiated in the endometrial blood vessels due to vasospasm, decreased nutrients to the endometrium, and the loss of the hormonal stimulation. The mass of desquamated tissue and blood plus the contractile effect of the prostaglandins all initiate contractions which expel the uterine contents. So this is the menstrual fluid that is containing the mass of desquamated tissues and blood plus the contractile effects of the prostaglandins and the other substances that are released into the menstrual blood. In normal menstruation, about 40 ml of the blood plus the 35 ml of the serous fluid are normally lost. The menstrual blood is normally non-clotting due to the presence of fibrinolysis. Within 4 to 7 days after menstruation, the loss of blood ceases and the endometrium becomes re-epithelialized, and the new cycle begins again. What is leukorrhea during menstruation? During menstruation, leukocytes are released with the necrotic material and blood, so the uterus is highly resistant to infections during menstruation as protective mechanism. So here we'll summarize whole of the ovarian monthly sexual cycle in this slide. That is, again I am revising the same thing, that hypothalamus is causing the release of gonadotrophin releasing hormones that are acting on the anterior pituitary to cause the release of FSH and LH. These FSH and LH, after its release from the anterior pituitary hormones, are acting on the ovaries. These at this time the ovaries these hormones acting on the ovaries and causes the increased secretion of the FSH during the first half of the cycle. At the time of the ovulation, it is the LH that would increase tremendously, and after the in the second half, the LH will cause the increase in the levels of the other hormones. Inside the ovaries, during the first half of the cycle, initially the primordial follicle, then primary, then secondary, then antral, and then Graafian follicles are formed that are at the time of ovulation, causing the release of the ovum into the abdominal cavity. After that, in the second half of the ovarian cycle, the corpus luteum, corpus albicans are formed, and then there is degeneration of the whole mass. In the endometrial cycle, in the first half of the cycle, there are the high levels of the estrogen that are produced by the FSH, and at the time of ovulation, the level of estrogen decreases, and under the action of LH, the level of progesterone increases. That remains elevated during the second half, that is the secretory phase of the endometrial cycle. And in the last picture, you can see that after the menstruation, there is reepithelialization of the stromal cells and the glandular tissue of the endometrium, and then ovulation takes place, and after that there is an increase in the secretory activity of these proliferated cells, and at the end of the cycle there is again with the withdrawal of all of the hormones, there is again the desquamation of the endometrial surface and the loss of the blood in the form of menstruations that takes place. Here are certain other there are certain other terminologies that are associated with the menstruation, so I am going to describe it again here. First is the menopause. At the age of 40 to 50 years, at the age of 40 to 50 years, the sexual cycle usually becomes irregular and ovulation often fails to occur. After a few months to a few years, the cycle ceases altogether. The period during which the cycle ceases and the female sex hormones diminish to almost none is called as menopause. The cause of menopause is burning out of the ovaries. It means that all of the primordial follicles that have been ovulated during the whole reproductive years, that is about 400 to 500. I have told you earlier that 400 to 500 of the primordial follicles reach to maturation and are released or are ovulated, and the remainings are undergo atresia. So after the follicles have been diminished during these whole of the years, at about age of the 45 years, only a few primordial follicles remains to be stimulated by the FSH and LH. The production of the estrogen by the ovaries decreases and the number of the primordial follicles approaches zero. When estrogen production falls below a critical level, the estrogen can no longer inhibit the production of the gonadotrophin FSH and LH. Instead, the gonadotrophins FSH and LH are produced after menopause in large and continuous quantities, but as the remaining primordial follicles become atretic, the production of estrogen by the ovaries fails virtually to zero. What happens during the menopause? What does the women feels during menopause? There are the certain symptoms that female faces when there comes the menopause. That are the hot flushes, which are characterized by the extreme flushing of the skin, psychic sensations and dyspnea, irritability, fatigue, anxiety, and occasional various psychotic states, and the decreased strength and calcification of bone throughout the body. The symptoms are of sufficient magnitude in about 15% of the women to warrant treatment. If counseling fails, the daily administration of estrogen in small quantities usually reverses the symptoms, and by gradually decreasing the dose, postmenopausal women can likely avoid severe symptoms. There are certain other abnormalities of the secretions by the ovary, that is the hypogonadism, in which there is decreased secretion by the ovaries of the hormones. It can result from poorly formed ovaries, or the lack of ovaries, or genetically abnormal ovaries that secrete the wrong hormone or the wrong levels of hormones because of the missing enzymes in the secretory cells. When the ovaries are absent from the birth, or when they become non-functional before puberty, female aunchism occurs. The other abnormality that can be encountered is the hypersecretion. Although extreme hypersecretion or hypersecretion of the ovarian hormones by the ovary is a rare clinical condition, because excessive secretion of the estrogen abnormal automatically decreases the production of gonadotropin by the pituitary, and this leads to the production these leads to the production of the less production of the ovarian hormones. Consequently, hypersecretion of the luteinizing hormones is usually recognized clinically when a feminizing tumor develops. Certain other terminologies that are routinely used in the abnormalities of in the disorders of the menstruation, that is the amenorrhea. Amenorrhea means the absence of menstrual period, either primary or secondary. Primary means that in which the menstrual bleeding has never occurred at the time of puberty. And the secondary amenorrhea cessation means that the cessation of the cycle occurs in the women with previously normal periods. That can occur due to the pregnancy, which is the most common cause. Whenever a patient is encountered with the amenorrhea, the first thing to be ruled out should be the pregnancy. Emotional stimuli and changes in the environment, hypothalamic diseases, the pituitary disorders, and the primary ovarian disorders and various systemic disorders can lead to the amenorrhea. What is menorrhagia? It refers to the abnormally heavy or prolonged bleeding. What is hypomenorrhea? It refers to scanty flow. And what is dysmenorrhea? It is the painful menstruation, that is the cramps due to accumulation of the prostaglandins in the uterus, and its treatment with the inhibitors of the prostaglandin synthesis can be useful. Thank you.